Greetings! In my earliest videos, I identified myself to you as what I call a green witch. And by that I meant that I am pagan. I celebrate the seasonal festivals of the year through ritual. I follow the phases of the moon, and I use herbs and plants both medicinally and magically. But I want to talk to you about another definition of a green witch today. But I'm also green in that I like to keep in mind ethical, environmental practice and try to live an environmentally responsible lifestyle, helping to protect the natural resources when possible. And one of my favorite ways to do that is through recycling. Who doesn't like to recycle? If you've watched any of my earlier videos, you may recall that I'm a bit of a medieval history enthusiast. And I spend much of my leisure time living, so to speak, in 14th century Europe, or Scotland in particular. Because of this, I feel very much attuned to my ancestors' agricultural traditions and practice, especially with concerns regarding the hearth fire. In our home, we have one of our altars, the altar in the parlor, dedicated to Breege. That is the Gaelic pronunciation for the Celtic goddess Bridget, you might call her. We have one altar dedicated to her from usually around Imbolc to Samhain, following Samhain. The Celts, of course, they celebrated the beginning of the day came with the arrival of darkness. So that would be, as it turns to November 1st, would be their traditional celebration of darkness. As the good wife of my SCA household, which is, in other words, our family within the household, and by the way, that's where the name Good Wife of my channel comes from. It is my title within my SCA household. I'm very much attuned to our own fire. I'm very much attuned to our own campfire. It serves to keep us warm on cold nights, of course, but it also is a place for gathering. It is a place we gather to share stories and songs, or just camaraderie. We use the fire for light, of course. And most importantly, we do our cooking on wood fire. So fire is a make it or break it deal for us, whether we have a lovely time at war. So, which we call our camping events our wars. They're not really wars. So lighting a fire is a skill set all on its own, and the purpose behind making this video, actually. I'm going to be making some fire starters, recycling some egg cartons, and using some sawdust and even some dryer lint. And I thought it might be fun to share what I'm doing. But first I want to point out to you that I am recycling candles, not magical candles. I'm today recycling candles that were used in our home for mood lighting. We use a lot of candles on our dining room table and around the house, different places for mood lighting, as you probably do too. Anyone who likes candles uses them everywhere. So that's what I'm going to be using today. Recycled candles that we just had. I think some of the ones I'm using today particularly were old candles that I had beside the fireplace in the living room and in this room. Used to be the living room. But the point came up to me and my husband, we were talking about it, and I was curious. As long as I was going to make these fire starters, I wanted to, of course, share the experience with you, but I also wanted to raise the question, do you think it is okay to recycle candles that have been used for magical purposes? Candles that have been used, for instance, on your altar, or perhaps even for spell work. And I'd sort of like to get your opinion on that. We normally use different kinds of candles in our practice. We use tea lights, of course, in our prosperity altar every day. We use tapers for many of our God and Goddess candles around the house. We use chime candles for spell work, votive sometimes for the spell work as well. And I talked last time when I was setting up a new altar space, pillar candles. which is what I'm recycling today. Again, not the ones from my altar, but similar, same size. And my question comes up, I think it's a very valid question, what do we do with the leftover wax? Because with the exception of tea lights, any other kind of candle that you burn leaves something behind. It doesn't just disappear, vaporize. Even a spell candle, when you are burning down a spell candle, it'll burn itself out. There's some wax left behind, and my question would be what you would do with that. In our practice, we typically burn those bits. We have a fire pit out of doors where we gather with friends and things, and we will burn little bits left behind from spell candles, or we burn some other things there too. We burn, for instance, our Yule wreath that's on our door during the season. At the end of the season, it is burned. We sort of have a ceremony and burn that little ritual, and we burn that in the fire pit. Any little bits, my little bits, anything left over from spell candles. When I have candles that won't go any further, that are just small little bits, like a goddess candle, like a taper, that just gets a little tiny bit at the bottom, too small to light, will go in that fire pit and burn. And then the ash from the fire pit is collected as the ashes from our fireplace indoors. We don't get a lot of ash indoors because we do live in California, so we don't have too many fires during the year. About 2 weeks of winter here we get some pretty good fires going, but other than that, mostly from the outdoor. And we have an outdoor kitchen where we cook, and we collect the ash as well. From there, all of that ash is put together, and that is spread as a protection barrier around our property several times a year, usually at a full moon. It's one of our protection practices that we put in. But, so the little bits go in there. But the candles that I was using today, and some of the working candles that I've used on my altar, the larger pillar-sized candles, only go so far and then they stop. You know, they just won't light anymore. And I wondered what you do with those. Do you think it's okay to use them again? Do you throw them away? I personally never throw away candles. I don't throw away most things. I like to recycle when I can. As you see, I also compost trash, so we have very little waste. We try to have very little waste. But anyway, I don't think it's appropriate to take something like that and throw it in the trash. That's just my personal opinion. I think, honestly, most of those candles have ended up in a cupboard somewhere, that I haven't really done much of anything with them. But they're really too big to burn in the fire pit. They're just, you know, I mean, I guess I could, but I don't know. I don't think that's good. My question is it appropriate to reuse the candle? I know some people have mentioned that they like to take old candles, melt them down, and make new candles. And while I do make votive candles, smaller votive candles sometimes, I'm not totally convinced that reusing wax would make a really nice candle. I'm not so sure. As far as if it would be bad because it's a magical candle, I mean, some people treat their candles as sort of holy items, I guess is what I mean, and they would think it would be like destroying a holy item, like throwing away a flag or something like that, which you're supposed to burn. I don't know that I agree with that totally, because for me, a candle is something that I take into my service. When I make my altar candles, for instance, when I showed you in my video, at least I mentioned in my video the other day, that when I go to use a pillar candle on my altar as a working candle, I will inscribe the candle, something appropriate for the service I seek from that candle. I will then usually, I of course have smudged, I smudge it first. And then I of course usually dress it with some kind of oil for the purpose of of putting it into, calling it to serve me on my altar. And then after that, it just stays on my altar, and it is used anytime I need it on the altar. It is in my service until I choose to retire it. Now, I don't think the candle itself holds any magic. I think that's what I'm trying to say. I hold the magic. The candle is only my tool. The candle is no more magic than the table that I have taken as a tool to use as an altar, or the salt that I've taken on my altar to use in my ritual to represent the earth to me, or whatever I choose it to do for me. It's still salt. I recently returned from a camping trip in Oregon where I was gifted with some fire starters. I have one here that really worked wonderfully well. They were very simply egg carton, some wood chips, and some candle wax. And I brought one home to remind me to make them. So that's what I'm doing today. They actually work like little candles, I believe. They stay lit because of the wax. They stay lit a long time, and they hold up really well against moisture and wind. So it helps the kindling, the fire. It gives the kindling a chance to really catch, regardless of what the weather is, and so you can get a good burn on the wood. They work wonderfully well, so I thought I would make some and to take to a camping event that we're going to in a few days. So I have the supplies here that I'm going to use. I have simple egg cartons, and these are, please know these are cardboard, not styrofoam. Please do not use styrofoam. And I just cut up those bits to get it to be a little more flat. And then I just have been taking some, these are actually wood chips that, rather than sawdust, it's more like wood chips, I guess. We do have some sawdust too in some of them, but I think it's so fine that I think the wood chips work a little better. But we had a bigger supply of the sawdust, of course, because depending on what kind of saw you're using, I understand. But anyway, we just want to fill. I have a fan on in here because I have no air conditioning and it is summer. It's quite warm today. So it's sort of blowing all over the place, into my eyes. But anyway, we don't want to get it I don't think we want to get it too full. We want to leave room for the wax. So anyway, this is all I do. I just, see how simple this is. Doesn't even make a very interesting video, but I'm excited about it, so I thought I would share it. I'm trying to get this on the paper. I have paper down here to protect my table. So I have wood chips and some. And then also, I understand the dryer lint is supposed to work very well. So I took a little bit of dryer lint. Now, there's as many videos on YouTube as there are, and I don't need to, you've been on YouTube, you're on YouTube now, you know how many videos people make. Everybody has something to say about something, so there's a lot of good videos on this if you're interested in the subject, and using different things. Some people love the dryer lint. We tried to make fire starters out of dryer lint in the past. That did not work. But I think the wax is the reason they did not work. That we just had I think we used a toilet paper tube with the dryer lint stuffed inside, and there was nothing to keep it burning. The wax is very, very important. You need that good burn on the to last before you, because it takes wood a while, as easy as wood is to burn, it takes it a little while to catch and to really go. Anyway, so I'm making different ones to compare what works, what I like, what I don't. So I put some dryer lint in here. Some of the YouTubes have mentioned that dryer lint from cotton works the best. I don't know if that's true. A lot of my dryer lint is probably from natural fibers. We do use a lot of linen because that's what we wear, linen and wool, which I don't wash, but in the dryer. But linen, cotton, of course, we have a lot of cotton things, towels, but I don't think I'm going to be that particular. I don't think it should matter that much. My biggest problem with the dryer lint right now is that as I'm looking at it, I see an awful lot of cat hair in there, so I'm not sure what that's going to do. And then as you saw me earlier cutting off these little peaks here, I just don't need the big, there's no reason they have to come off. It's just going to be much easier for me. As you see, it leaves these little holes. When I'm finished, to cut these little sections apart, so I have individual starters, there's no reason to cut those off. I could have left them on, but as I cut them off, I think, oh, I have all these little bits. So I wonder, is there a reason they would not burn as well? So I'm just going to try that, and I'm going to put some of the little bits, cut them a little smaller, to try to mimic sawdust or the wood chips in here, and put some of those in the egg cartons, and I'm going to see if they burn. Who knows? They burn. They'll burn or they won't. While I'm cutting this, I will mention, I'm going to give you a little, I'm hoping to give you a little spoiler of what's coming up on my next video, because this whole idea of the subject of fire made me very interested, and especially my campfire. I was wondering if any of you would be interested in some more about that. I've learned so much camping and using fire in my camp that I've learned so much about fire and wood and things that I have some more to share. And I was thinking I'm going to be talking about wood on my next video. So if you're interested, if not, I'm giving you a fair warning that you can just skip the next one when it comes. But anyway, the next time I will report to see how this has worked. So here I have the table down, paper down on my table to protect. I don't want wax all over my table. And I have sawdust in 2 of these, a combination of dryer lint, and these little bits from the top in here. And I will cut them in it. I have the wax smelling behind me in a double boiler. And, oh, that's what I want to talk to you about. Please, I want to caution you, if you ever want to make anything like your own candles or use, I'm not an expert, but please, I really want to say this, please do not. I came across this when I was looking for YouTube videos about making these fire starters, and I saw one man, very confidently just burning his candles directly on the flame, on the stove in the pan, and telling everyone, you don't need to use the double boiler, just keep an eye on your wax. I am not saying that with this video. I am saying please use a double boiler. I don't see any reason not to. I know too many people that have had accidents, and one person had a fatal accident that I know, trying to make candles, and the wax caught on fire. You can't take that back when it happens. And really, I don't see any reason other than pure laziness to not use a double boiler. You don't have to have one of these fancy things like I have with a spout. Use an old tomato can. Put some wax in it and melt it down, and then throw away the can when you're finished if you want. I would ask you to recycle it if possible. But anyway, it's so easy to do. It doesn't take any more time. Please don't take the shortcut. And if you do take the shortcut, you did not hear that from me. I am not telling you to do that. Okay, I'm going to cut just for a moment so I can get my wax. I think it is behind me, melting. And I'm going to get that and just finish what I'm doing. So I'll be back in just a minute. My wax is melted, and I'm just very, very carefully pouring it in my egg carton. I just want to put a little bit in a time. I don't know how much I need. And I think I will get a good idea how much I need because it's starting to float. Let me get my chest here. As I pour it in here, I can just put these, push down the wood chips a little further, and I can see from this one that I could have maybe had a little more wood chips in there. So I'm just going to add a little more and see what happens. So you're doing this for the first time with me. Learn from my mistakes. It's the best way. So this means I'm going to put a little more in these. And I found I was being really much too neat. No need to be neat. So I do want to really sort of kind of fill these a little more because I want really more wood chip than wax, I think. So let's try that. Let's see. I want to add here, this is unscented candies, these are unscented candles. I have unscented candles because that's what I use. I don't normally use scented candles. Don't see anything wrong with using scented. The question came up, somebody asked me that before, if I thought it was okay to use scented. I don't know why it wouldn't be because scented candles are made to burn anyway, aren't they? So, now we'll see what happens. Now, right away, I can see that I might have made a mistake filling them so full because when I go to take them apart, as you see here, I'm going to have perhaps wax, I don't know, I'll let you know. I was going to say it might be hard, I might have to really cut them apart because of the wax. If I kept the, if I kept them a little shallower, filled with smaller amounts, it might be easier just to section, but I'm not sure. Anyway, I want to be sure before I melt. Oh, I have a little more, it's not quite done. Try my dryer lint. These one I'll try to be a little less sloppy. And again, it's hot wax, so just take your time. You don't want to spill it on yourself and burn yourself. And here I am trying to fill up these with the bits of the egg carton. I'm very curious to see if that's going to work. Can't wait to try. I know very few of you you do a lot of cooking and things on fire. I think most people today use gas grills or what have you. But, you know, a lot of us have fireplaces and more of us have fire pits and look at me getting carried away and wanting to add more. I just can't leave it alone. It's sort of fun to do, so I'm getting a little bit. Okay, that's gonna have to do. Now this, because I do have one of these guys, I really can keep the wax in here. I've got a lot more, as you can see, I've got a lot more, well, maybe you can't see. Got a lot more egg cartons. And I've got a lot more copper wood chips, sawdust, and I've sawdusted another thing. But I don't think I really need that many. I think this is going to do me for the weekend. I'm only going for, maybe I'll do one more. I'm only going for the weekend, long weekend. So anyway, I'd love to have your comments again, and you tell me your ideas about whether you think it's okay to recycle candles or not. I wanted to add, my husband asked him about it. He thinks the recycling candles, like what we're doing today, is very much in line with our spiritual thinking, that we are big believers of the cycles of life, things dying and things being born, and taking something and retiring the old and making something new out of it, giving it new life. Very much in line with our faith, our beliefs. So for us, this would be a good thing, I think, in the future. My working candles at least are going to end up, my bigger pieces are going to end up maybe in fire starters. Who knows? I don't know. We'll see. I will report back and let you know. Oh, when this is, I want to say, when this is cool, when it cools and hardens, all the wax hardens, then I will cut them apart and I'll keep them in bags to pull out. So I'm going to use all three kinds. I will report back in my next video how that went. In the meantime, thank you for watching. I hope this wasn't too boring. Thank you for watching. Hope this wasn't too boring. And I'm Rebecca, and I wish you blessings.